So we are live now. Excellent.
Yeah.
All right. So, how's it going, everybody? Welcome to tonight's broadcast episode. We have the Dr. Sharon Grossman, who is a professional burnout coach, and tonight she's going to talk to us about professional burnout as an epidemic, the symptoms, what to look out for, causes, and potential remedies, and how to mitigate it. So before we do, we'll welcome Sharon to the stage. And how's it going?
It's great.
Uh,
Thanks for having me on a Sunday evening and super happy to connect with everybody and just get you guys prepared for the upcoming week. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I know we had a little bit of technical issues, so we were using Be Live. Now we're doing StreamYard. So so tell us about a little bit more about yourself and how you got started in burnout and coaching, and exactly what more depth and detail about what you do.
Sure. So I am a trained clinical psychologist and I've been doing therapy for the last 19 years. And as part of that, I've been working with a lot of high achievers. I live in the Bay Area. And so you can imagine I've got people from Silicon Valley, from all the big companies that we're all used to with regards to social media and everything else that are highly stressed out. So those are some of my clients, kind of over the years. And then from there, really working a little bit more niched with my coaching on specific areas or industries, I should say. So like definitely, especially with COVID, a lot more healthcare workers, a lot of physicians and nurses and things of that nature. And basically what happened over the course of my tenure is that I really love so much the arena of coaching that I decided to really transition from therapy into the coaching area. And as I was thinking about like, who do I really love working with? It really is high achievers. And so many of them happen to be physicians. And I just love working with them because they're just such givers and they're so dedicated and they care so much about doing the right thing and taking care of the world. And in the process, I feel like so many of them are struggling and they're burning out. And so I want to be able to help them help themselves. And so this is my kind of platform where I get to give back to all of the caretakers and help you guys really have a more sustainable way of doing the work that you love to do.
That's a beautiful introduction, and I work with physicians as well, and I work more along the personal finances and how to teach them how to do diversification of income streams. And we partnered up because burnout is an epidemic. Really, just I think stress is the number one killer. We're just seeing just so many changes, and the world we live in today is just so much different than it was 20 years ago. And so really, we're just seeing a lot of career dissatisfaction and exodus, and there's a need for individuals such as yourself to provide coaching and services, and really people who understand what high achievers, what makes them think and tick, and then what makes them what they need, especially in terms of pivoting into a coaching situation where you're helping clients really get what they want and what they need out of life. So I think that's really
Yeah, and I think that you're very needed as well, because so much of the time they're stressed out, not just because of their work, but because of student loans and just other financial debt. And so they're looking for ways to reduce their stress. And one of the ways that they do that is by creating additional streams of income. And I think that's really great. And I also think that there's room for the conversation of like how to do your job and not have it be so incredibly stressful. And oftentimes this is the part where we're missing the information, because people are often saying, my job is like this and that's why I feel this way. And that's kind of where I come in and I say, there's actually like a step in between those two things, right? And that's your thoughts. right? So you've
Right.
got your job or you've got your situation, you get your circumstances, and then you have your thoughts about those things. And that's what actually creates the stress and the anxiety and the frustration and all the things that you're feeling
Uh-huh.
is a result of your thinking. And so part of what I'm trying to do is really help people see how much power they actually have over their outcomes,
Uh-huh.
right? As opposed to just saying, and I think actually sometimes people will come and seek somebody like you out because they're looking for that exit strategy of like, I love doing this work, but I can't do this anymore. Right? Help me get the hell out of here. Right before, because I can't, it's not sustainable. Right. And I'm
Yeah.
trying to educate people on how they, because it's fine if you want to leave. Right. But
Uh-huh.
often what I find is that they actually love medicine. They actually love the work that they do. And they're heartbroken about having to leave.
Yeah.
I mean, think about how much you put in to just become a physician, right?
Right.
There's so much that goes into it. And to then find out that you can't do it is really heartbreaking. And so I'm in the job of like trying to help you do what you love to do and
Uh-huh.
help have it be sustainable.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. A lot of it's just a lot of it is just when people have their identities really tied up into their jobs and their careers and how much they make and what they have and their status. So my question for you is, do you think burnout is we've always had it, or it's just an epidemic that's just happening because of the pandemic and because of all of the stress and everything, or is it tell me your thoughts about that.
Yeah. Well, I'll answer your question with the question. So it's kind of like asking, is stress a new phenomenon or is that something that we have only because of COVID? Right. So
Right.
we all know that stress is something that we've always had. And essentially burnout is just accumulated stress over time. So when stress is acute, we can be like, oh, today was a really stressful day. And then you wake up the next morning and you're fine. But when you have burnout, the stress is chronic. And so you wake up tomorrow, it's the exact same thing as it was yesterday, if not worse.
Uh-huh.
Right? And that's essentially what burnout is. It's chronic stress over time that's accumulated and it doesn't get better from day to day. And so it's really
Uh-huh.
taking a toll on people. And so we have to find ways to change what's happening
Uh-huh.
as it's happening, right? And
Yeah.
and we're often focused externally, like you're saying, um, both in terms of what we want, like the outcomes that we're going for, and in terms of why we're feeling the way that we are. And they're both problematic, right?
Mhm.
So what you're saying is, people are always saying like, oh, I'm like really interested in the status, or I'm interested in like how much money I'm making, or all these things.
Uh-huh.
And that can be problematic because if you're doing that exclusively and you're not tuning into what you need, then you're missing something. You're
Uh-huh.
disconnected.
Okay.
You're disconnected. And the other piece is if you're not really paying attention to the things that are going on inside of you, whether it's your thoughts or anything else, then it's hard for you to see the connection between what's happening, or like what's happening inside of you, and you're thinking like, oh, it's that thing out there. It's like my job's really stressful,
Uh-huh.
or it's my kids, or it's my husband, or it's my whatever. And then you're not really seeing that there is that thinking that often comes into the mix that creates the negative emotions. So really the invitation here is to become more self-attuned, to become more aware of all of your inner processes, because the more aware you are of yourself, the more you understand yourself, the better decisions you get to make, the less stress you actually feel.
Okay. And how does a client determine, if they're interested in, coaching or burnout coaching or career transitions? How do they distinguish between, oh, I'm stressed at my job, I just need to learn how to say no more, or I just need to, learn how to mitigate stress more, and actually, where they're actually experiencing physical burnout? Where do you draw that line, or how do they when they come to you, like I'm not sure if
Like
I
how like how will they know that they need
yeah, need
burnout coaching?
coach. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I think first and foremost, you have to know what burnout is. And I think that's the very first step, because oftentimes people are like, yeah, I've heard the term. I know what it is, right? But that's not me. That's not what's happening here. Right.
Yeah.
And we don't really know what it means. It's kind of like this thing that you hear about. And oftentimes people will understand that about themselves in retrospect, right? It's like, oh, yeah. Okay. Now I get it. That's a thing that happened to me like 2 years ago. That I realize now that's what was going on then. That's why I was feeling that way, you know? And part of what I see my job as is to educate people on what is actually was happening in the moment so that you can be like, oh, that's me. Like I'm having those symptoms.
Mhm.
I didn't realize that was burnout. I thought that was just stress, or I thought that was just whatever, you know? And now I have a name for it and actually realize that this is what it is. And I have an opportunity to intervene. Tell me more. That's where the coaching conversation can start, because it's like, oh, now I know that I have it. I want to do something about it. Tell me what I can do. Right.
Mhm.
That's kind of when you know that this is for you.
Right. Okay. Well, that makes sense because it's just, you know, a lot of times, sometimes it's just stress mitigation, and a lot of times it's very, really the clients are really burned out.
Mhm.
What types of techniques do you offer? How do you coach clients, and how do you help them become more self-aware, and what sort of things do you go through just to give the viewers an understanding?
Yeah, so there's not one thing. Um, it's kind of like a journey that we go on together where you're building up levels of skills and levels of insight, and it just kind of all adds up, so that you actually transform in the process, and you wake up in the morning at the end of it,
Uh-huh.
and you start to notice like, hey, I'm actually seeing these results that I didn't have before, and I don't feel the way that I used to feel before, and like like how did I all of a sudden, it's, it almost seems like that overnight success, but it's not. It's kind
Uh-huh.
of like you're slowly building that up, and then all of a sudden one day it's like, oh, I've arrived. And that's really the goal, is to be able to transition slowly and start to implement some things. And so, to give you an example, mindfulness is a big piece of it,
Mhm.
because oftentimes, as I said, if you're focusing externally on all the things that you need to do, your to-do list, I got to take care of my kids, and then I got to make dinner, and then I got to clean the house, and then I got to, it's like, where do you fit into this whole equation, right? And
Right.
it's like tuning into your energy, and like, do I have the energy to do that right now, or do I need to go take a rest, or do I need to drink some water, or do I need to have a pause? And is it like self-care and making sure that you're doing the things that continue to replenish you, as opposed to constantly just exerting all this energy out? It's about really what we talked about earlier, which is about managing your thoughts. That's a huge part of it.
Mhm.
And that's because, as we said, it has such a big impact on your outcomes. If you have negative thoughts, if you're beating yourself up, if you're a perfectionist, if you got imposter syndrome, all of these things, it's like a lot of negative thoughts
Uh-huh.
that create insecurity, that create anxiety, that create stress in your life. And from that place, it's harder for you to be the best version of yourself. And so you're just kind of struggling to do something that, if you didn't have that struggle mentally, you could do it in less time with less effort. It just wouldn't be as hard, right?
Mhm.
So I'm trying to teach people like how to feel better, like how to make better decisions, how to be more empowered. And you mentioned the word self-awareness, and that's really the foundation of emotional intelligence. So, I do want to kind of just say, so I wrote a book, which I'll
Oh,
share
that's
with
right.
you.
Yeah, that's
It's called the 7E solution. I don't know if you can see it.
uh,
7E solution to burnout.
yeah.
And the reason that it's called that is because there are actually like 7 steps that kind of come together. And one of them is emotional intelligence. So it's called 7E because they all start with the letter E. Just
Uh-huh.
so happens emotional intelligence is step 1. And step 1 of step 1, if you will, is self-awareness, right? In order to be more emotionally intelligent, you have to first understand yourself.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, so if we're saying like, I feel really stressed out, I don't understand that it's me that's creating that stress because of my thoughts. I'm going to think that it's my job, or I'm going to think that it's my manager, or I'm going to think that it's my finances, or I'm going to think whatever it is. And then I'm going to look out there for the solution.
Mhm.
But if it's my own negative thinking, that's creating the stress and I'm looking out there, then it's hard for me to ever arrive, because then I'll always be looking, once I finish this and then I'll have the next thing and the next thing. And you're always kind of jumping from one thing to the next. Right. And
Right.
so this is really an inner work kind of journey where you're looking inward for the solution. And, and speaking of self-awareness, I thought, okay, part of what I'm teaching is how to change your outcome once you know that you're burned out, as we've talked about. But how can I help people first become more self-aware so that they say, yes, I need this other thing, or I'm ready for the next step to really work on myself? And that's where I decided to create this like 5-day challenge,
Right.
where
Exactly.
I'm really taking people on this journey to increase that self-awareness day by day. Which, by the way, if you're interested in it, it starts tomorrow, Monday, the 15th. And it's 100% free. So I really encourage people to check it out. And I know people are like really busy and they're always wondering, like, how much time is this going to take for me? So I want you to know, I'm answering all the questions. I want you to know that it is designed with you in mind. I know the people are super busy. So figure about 15 minutes a day over the course of 5 days. And that investment in yourself will allow you by the end of the week to be in a completely different place, where you know so much more about yourself that all of a sudden you'll realize how much you need to do things differently, and how much easier it's now for you to make decisions, because you'll be in a much more informed place. And Christopher, I don't know if you can relate to this, but one of the things that I like to tell people is that part of the reason people feel stressed out is because either they have to make a decision and they don't know what to choose because they're not in touch with themselves.
Yeah, exactly.
Or they feel stressed out because they've already made the decision, but now it's not aligned with what they need or what they value, and that feels really stressful. And they don't know what to choose because they're not in touch with themselves.
Yeah, exactly.
Or they feel stressed out because they've already made the decision, but now it's not aligned with what they need or what they value, and that feels really stressful. And they don't know what to choose because they're not in touch with themselves.
So yeah, you brought up a lot of great points, and to all the listeners out there, there's a lot of people interested in signing up for the 5-day challenge. So I put the link down in the comments below, and like Dr. Grossman was saying, it's completely free, and it tries to challenge you to really grow and experience from the challenge. So I really like that. And for your book, for the audience out there, can they go on to Amazon, or do they contact you, or how?
No, it's on Amazon. Just go to, it's called 7 Solution to Burnout, and it's definitely available there. I also have a page if you want to kind of learn more about the book. You can go to 7esolution.com, and it's got all this information about, there was a couple of videos, and it's also got this kind of bonus sign up program that I have for people, because oftentimes, as we said, like, people don't recognize burnout in themselves, but you might recognize it in your colleagues. And so I really wanted to incentivize people to buy it for others. And so I created this whole rewards program that if you buy it for others, I will gift you free coaching.
That's so awesome, providing and giving it back.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, so we work a lot with just type A perfectionist type, and what's interesting is that I've seen it, and I'm sure you've seen it, is that a lot of especially healthcare workers and caretakers and people in the healing professions, they experience a lot of what's called compassion fatigue, moral injury, burnout, and a lot of it's, for example, an inability to say no. And like you were saying, it's really dependent upon really self-awareness, because just saying yes to everything and saying yes to everybody, and just not having any boundaries, and not being able to participate in getting enough rest, self-care, just basic things. So I'm sure you've seen that in your practice. And what sort of results have you seen with your clients that sign up with you and enroll in your coaching programs? Just give us examples, success stories.
Sure. So what's so interesting, you asked me before, like some of the skills that people learn, and I teach a whole slew of things. And, if you read the book, like so much of that is in there. And so what's
Uh-huh.
been really interesting is that everybody comes out of the program with something like a different nugget that that they hold on to, if that makes
Uh-huh.
sense. So some
Yeah.
people really love the idea of focusing on their energy and what is something that drains my energy versus something that gives me more energy. And I had
Uh-huh.
one client that really took to this idea, and it just made this whole world of difference because he was able to make more informed decisions about everything in his life. So for him, that was like the one thing of the like 100 things that he learned that
Uh-huh.
he just like took home and like made so many changes. For
Uh-huh.
somebody else, it was this idea of I can have a cutoff time, right? So I had this one client who was she had a 40-minute commute home after work,
Uh-huh.
and she was working in this business where I don't know if you're familiar with, kind of like a One Medical. It's like a private clinic where people can sign up for for a membership, and then they get like additional services. And so people are constantly sending messages to their physicians, and they're saying like, hey, I get this, and what about this, and asking questions. And so she would be on her drive home, and people would just all these messages would be coming in, and she had like so much anxiety. It was like, oh my God, I gotta answer all these people. And it's all coming in, and like she's driving home, she's trying to like make it to the day. And then she couldn't fall asleep at night because she's like thinking, oh my God, I have all this stuff to do, and like everybody wants a piece of me, and I don't know, and it's like you're giving it all away and it's still not enough. It feels like, and then so there's so much anxiety of like, what am I gonna do? Right. And so
Uh-huh.
we worked on this concept of like, it's okay for you to not answer them right away.
Yeah.
Right. And then she was like, wait, but what was going to happen? Right. Because there's like all this anxiety, but she was
Yeah.
able to work on it to the point where she just got this whole download of like, it's going to still be there. Like when I'm done with my ride and when I'm done with my whatever, like all those messages will still be there. And if I answer them tomorrow morning, like it's totally fine. And anyway, whatever it was that finally like helped her have that mindset shift,
Yeah.
she, as a result, because that's what you're asking about, was so much less anxious, first of all, during her commute, but then because she didn't have all this anxiety after work, she was able to fall asleep faster, and she got an extra hour of sleep a night, which, as
Wow.
you know, if you
Yeah.
know anything about sleep, like that is the one thing that's going to make the biggest impact on you,
Yes.
right? Because it determines everything. It's like your
Right.
energy, everything, right? So having an extra night of sleep every night
Oh yeah. That's
was like
huge.
from one change that she made, and
Uh-huh.
that was like so. Like I said, for everybody, it's a little bit different, and that's because everybody's struggle, even though we all might be under that burnout umbrella, everybody's version of burnout is different. Everybody's reason for being like under that umbrella is also different, right? And
Mhm.
so different pieces are going to speak to different people, and that's why you have to have all the different pieces. And that's what I'm teaching is like take what really feels good for you and your situation and try to apply it and see kind of where you come out. So I think what's nice is that I've got you covered no matter what's happening. And then in addition to what I'm teaching, I'm also coaching people so that they can think about specifics about their situation and how to apply things and making sure that they're getting the results that they're looking for. So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of skills that you learn, and these are the skills that help people be successful in the world that they don't teach you in medical school.
Right.
Right? They don't really teach you this in any school.
Yep.
This is where coaching comes in, and that's where like you learn emotional intelligence, and you're learning mindfulness, and you're learning ways of changing your thinking, right? And
Exactly.
taking control over your mind. That's so incredibly powerful because mindset is the crux of everything to do with your success and your
Right.
happiness. And you talked about like satisfaction and all the things, right? And so it's monumental. It really is. And I
Yeah.
can't overemphasize that. And so um I would say if you're listening to this and you're relating to some of this, if you're noticing you're kind of like shaking your head and be like, yeah, that's me, then join the challenge. That's what I would say to you. It's absolutely free. It starts tomorrow. And really, I've created all this amazing material for you guys so that you can walk away at the end of the week really better understanding yourself. And it's going to reduce your stress levels just by knowing more about yourself and what you value, what you need, how to pay attention to the things that are important. Is going to make a massive difference in how you're making decisions, how you're showing up, and how you feel ultimately.
Yeah, you said a lot of great pearls of wisdom in there, and I really like the idea of everybody's different, so everybody in the end it's going to be a stimulus and response, and in between there's the gap, and that's all what you're coaching and what you're teaching, and really depends on how you manage your thoughts and what those thoughts make you feel and the stories that you tell yourself about those thoughts. And so it's really great that we have coaches, trying addressing a lot of these things, because right now we're on the cutting edge, a lot of us, for these these educational programs, and really trying to help others to achieve a better life. And like you said, we're not nobody we don't get taught this in any these are real world life skills, and I think the world needs it now more than ever, just because people are so, like, the anxiety, the stress, the uncertainty. It's like it's going to get worse and worse. As with technology and advancement. So and then you also mentioned, so you have the day to day, the real time monitoring of your thoughts and the tools and techniques, and you also have your book as well, and you have resources that people can go to, both paid and free as well. So
Yep.
you know so to all the people that are listening, check out Dr. Grossman. How do people get in contact with you? Is your website or email? Feel
Yeah, so I've got most of the stuff that you need to know right on my website. So go to drsharongrossman.com.
uh,
I didn't put information about the challenge there, but you do have access to my Mindset Mastery starter kit, which is a free download that's got a bunch of
uh,
articles and videos on topics related to stress, anxiety, burnout, imposter syndrome, self sabotage, like all the things. So
uh,
that's free, and that's a great place for people to just get started and have that.
uh,
I've also created a burnout meter. So if people are interested to find out how burned out they actually are, they can go and click on that and take the assessment and then book a call in with me, and we'll give you some feedback and let you know about what would be good next steps.
uh,
And there's a link to the book. You can go right to Amazon, or you can go from my website and it'll link you to there.
uh,
And so there's just like a whole bunch of stuff. I also have a webinar right on my website as well. So lots of good stuff all in one place.
Oh, excellent. So I put the link to your website down in the comments, the Facebook comments, and feel free. I'm sure they can, you have a lot of leads and things for people to learn and educate themselves. So I'm sure they can contact you in that some way, form, or fashion. So
Yeah.
um, and I think we'll have I think, let's see if we have a question here. I think, do we have a question here? Okay, so we had one question from the audience was, what is the so how long, so one of the members asked, how long do you work with a client? Is it one session? Is it a week, a month? What is your approach?
Yeah. So my program is called Exhausted to Extraordinary, and it's actually a 90-day program.
Yeah.
And so I'm really taking you through the entire process from A to Z. And, anybody who's interested in learning more, I'm happy to talk to you. So you can find a link to sign up for like a session with me through my website. So again, going to drsharongrossman.com, there's a link to book in a call. And I am happy to talk to you about your situation, what's happening for you, and what would be like a good next step if it's that program or something else. But in general, yeah, I don't think one session is going to do it, because as we said, burnout is a result of chronic stress. It's something that is happening over and over again for a long duration of of time. And so we really need to be strategic. We need to do some revamping in terms of how you think about things and how you engage with things. And the as you know, we have habits, and habits take time to create, and they also take time to change. And if I did one session, it would just basically be enough to tell you, okay, this is your pattern, right? Being able to identify it for you. And I'm happy to do that for people and just say, like, okay, this is what I'm noticing. And that's what I do during these free breakthrough sessions that I have with people. But it's not enough to be aware of the problem. You need to actually work to change it. And that takes a
Yeah.
little bit of time. And that's why it's a 90-day program, to really give you enough time to help you really see that transformation happen, but not so long that it feels overwhelming.
So that's right. Yeah. So yeah, I think, yeah, 90 days, you get to the core of the issue, and then you work with the client, and at the end of it sounds like, from the success stories that you've sounds like a lot of clients get a lot of satisfaction, and a lot of benefits from the program. So
Yeah, and
definitely.
I'm measuring. I'm having people take like a self-assessment before and after. So
uh
we can say, like, over the course of these 90 days, you started here and you ended up here. And I can tell them, hey, you may not remember what it was like, 3 months ago, but your satisfaction's gone up by 50%, or your, energy's boosted up by 80%, whatever the case may be. I'm able to then have some data to share with them.
Well, excellent. Wow,
Yeah.
sounds like a great program, and
Thanks.
thanks for being on the show. And I'm looking to expand this. So to all the people that came on, weekly, we'll have a guest in their specialty. I think for high performers, it's a lot of high performers are interested in burnout, in
Mhm.
coaching, and real estate investing, and also consulting. So this show will grow and expand to cover those areas, and bring on the experts, so that they can share their wisdom, share their information. And it sounds like you have a lot of tools, and a lot of free information for people that are interested, and people that actually want to work with you, and get coached by you. So definitely check out the 5-day challenge. And I think that was the last question. And for those who missed the live play, the replay will be available, starting shortly. So,
Yeah.
good.
And I do want to let you know that if you happen to be watching the replay and it's like Tuesday or Wednesday, you can still join the challenge, because you'll have access to the recordings of all the videos for a few days after the challenge ends. So the challenge ends on Friday, but you'll still have a full week afterwards to catch up. So I would still encourage you to jump in.
Well, excellent. All
Yeah.
right. Well, thanks so much. And I'm going to end the broadcast, and then thanks so much for having.
All right. Thanks for having me. Bye, guys. See you inside.
Good luck with the launch.